quite familiar with these problems. Now, when I get 25 citizens in a small community of 7,200 writing a petition of some problems that we're having there, that's an issue. That's a big percentage. Okay, again, what does this have to do with you? Well, when we used to work on this thing when I was on the board, which is about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe Julie recalls, we were working on plans to clean up the beach on the other side. Now, most of you are Republicans, and most Republicans are supposed to be on the platform to give opportunity to businesses and such. Now, what's happened is that we put in the money in our little community into our township park, which most people show up to, but your county park is being ignored, and thus the people are all flocking in there. I would beg the board to consider upgrading that park. Dust off the plans, and yeah, I was one of the ones that stopped it because I don't think it's proper for us to be double taxed again to upgrade. That's your responsibility. Then it was kind of disconcerting because you may say, well, it's a budgetary problem. Well, is it? You just passed a 911, which you offloaded some of your general budget money to the 911 service. There's freed up money. Our chief says he has 300 calls. He calls on about 96% of them, 4% leaving 4% of it is taken care of by the state and the sheriff. Okay, so let's take 3%. That's roughly 10 or so a day. That means the sheriff department's only doing 10 a month. Can we not get rid of the Hatfield and McCoy debate, an argument between the law enforcement, and maybe coordinate that up? It's only on weekends that we seem to be having these problems. Maybe help out there? How about cleaning up that? You're Republicans and you're supposed to give the opportunity to businesses. On that side of the lake, they're starving. We would like to have more tourism. Jackson County would like to have more tourism. We bring in people from Lenawee, we bring them in from Adrian, we bring them in from Toledo, which would help the county out. So I'm scratching my head, and then I hear that now you're thinking about investing into an asphalt deal. Really? See, maybe you want to get out of the business of asphalt, maybe out of the business of incinerating, and maybe you want to get into the business of maintaining, and how about the oil? My understanding is that Boyce Oil, by the way, he passed away last week, probably rushed upon because of what happened to him down there, but you also got that windfall too. So I got to ask you, wasn't that earmarked, or part of that money earmarked for the parks? Can we not coordinate with the two different branches that we're only getting 3 or 4% coverage by the sheriff department? Really? So I think if you do that, clean up the park, at least get it started, then maybe we'll get some people to relieve some of the pressure from our park, reduce some of the problems on that park, entice some more businesses, tourism, other people from outside, which will help our community, certainly, and our community is also part of Jackson County, which thus would help the county. Help out businesses. On that side, we have one business closed, night crawlers. Maybe if we would have had one a few years ago and would have implemented it, night crawlers would not be closed, and it's an eyesore right now. Maybe. So you guys got to kind of think a little deeper. When you get 25 citizens that are going to write with very doable things, and something is really, it's not going to be easy, but get out of the other businesses and start concentrating on the assets that the government is for, and that would be public areas. Not public things or private things that can be handled like asphalt, trash, oil. Focus. Focus a little bit. And let's get our coordinating things, as Governor Snyder says. Why are we not coordinating if we do have problems there? We got problems that are people urinating. You got people that are bullying our people that are using the gazebo. Can we not coordinate our township with the immediate part of the problems with our sheriff department? I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. But it just seems that we should be looking a little deeper and maybe just concentrate on the things that you should be responsible for. Just a thought. Because I will be running this thing, and I'll tell you what, would you like it if we decide to close the park? How would that be for the community of county of Jackson? How would it be if we only charge the people that are coming in from out county? What if we close it all together that some people are talking about? Or what if we decide to charge them $100 and everybody else from Columbia nothing? Say it can't happen? I don't know. We charge double for college education if you're out of state. Why? Because the property taxpayers pay for it inside the state, so they shouldn't have to pay double. Seems to me, my legal mind say it could be done. Don't run off and figure a way to shut it down. We're not trying to sit there and shut it down. We're trying to ask for some relief. Like I said, when you get 25 people that are going to sign a very doable petition.
30 seconds.
That makes you kind of stand up when you're in a small community like myself. So I thank you very much for your time, and I hope you take some of those ideas into consideration. Thank you very much. I know summer's coming to an end, but maybe now's the time to get some paperwork going or some head scratching. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Joy Miller. I'm a mother, a grandmother, a teacher, a trainer, a camp master at Camp Tatanka, which means I check in campers on the weekend. I'm a Cub Scout Day Camp director. I'm a Jackson County resident, and I'm a member of the Friends of Camp Tatanka. Camp Tatanka has been a starting point for many people, for many things. A start to a lifelong love of nature. A starting point to interests and activities and opportunities. Camp Tatanka has history, over 100 years of campers and supporters. For many people like myself, it's a place that represents a past rich with memories with my children, my grandchildren, and my friends. It represents the present with the LDS Girls Camp there this week and Cub Scout Day Camp that's just ended a week ago. It was heartbreaking to hear a little Cub Scout, first time there, asking why they might not be able to be there next year. And I didn't really have an answer. He's our future, and the future of scouting and Tatanka. Many of the members of these youth groups who come to camp develop special memories and friendships, and they return year after year. The relationships forged at camp are special. They're like no other. Today's youth need places like Tatanka. I teach at an alternative high school. I know this. I see it every day. They need those special relationships. They need those experiences. They need those memories they can pull up when the times are bad. Why does the Friends of Camp Tatanka continue to grow? Because the people who camped at Tatanka as youth continue to learn that once again, it is in danger. The other subgroup of the Friends of Camp Tatanka is made up of Jackson County residents who live near the camp who have legitimate concerns about how the future of Camp Tatanka will impact their homes and their lives. Why should you care about what we think? When you do the right thing, just because it's the right thing, you gain respect and you gain trust. Whether Michigan Crossroads Council will do the right thing and convey to the Friends of Camp Tatanka remains to be seen, but Jackson County could take this opportunity to do the right thing and just withdraw their proposal. Please ask yourself, what will be lost to future generations if Jackson County gets Camp Tatanka? Do not ignore this potential loss. This camp is worth saving and protecting for youth, and so for our future. And that is why we are passionate about this camp. Something to consider. Instead of competing with the Friends of Camp Tatanka, partner with us to help provide our youth the opportunities that we can offer at Camp Tatanka. I would ask you to talk to and listen to the people that you represent. We have, I know you've seen some letters from people and they continue to come in. Have you seen an increase in attendance in your meetings? That's because people care about this issue. It's important. So please support the future by supporting our youth by preserving Camp Tatanka as a camp for youth. Thank you.
Peter Blumworth. I'd like to address the parks issue a little bit too. I think the opportunity for the county to add Camp Tatonkan to our parks is an enormous opportunity and benefit to the people of Jackson County. There are 160,000 of us that could potentially use that park and bring their children there. And I'd like to point out that the reason the camp is closing is because the Boy Scouts say it is underutilized by the scout troops and it's no longer viable. It doesn't get even 30% occupancy. So obviously the problem has not been that the camp is overflowing with youth and scouts. The problem has been that it doesn't get sufficient youth. I'd also like to point out that at the Parks Board meeting I went to, the Friends of Camp Tatonkan said they were partnering with Spring Arbor University. I'd point out that Spring Arbor University is one of the few educational institutions in this country that got an exemption from the Obama administration so that they can completely discriminate against gay people. I'd like to point out that the ordinary percentage of gay people in a population is about 10%. So if 10% of our 160,000 people are gay, these are people that would not be allowed into that camp under Spring Arbor University's laws. So I'd like to ask this board to consider taking on this property, should the Boy Scouts determine they accept one of your offers, and turn it into a gem for the people of Jackson County and not for a few isolated individuals who want to preserve their privacy on Big Wolf Lake. Thank you.
My name is Dennis Fowler. I'm also a scouter. Been a scouter for years. My kids have been scouts. Camp Tatonka, you heard both sides of the game. The underutilization part, I can make numbers anything I want to. Is it utilized enough to maintain with scouts only? Possibly. The problem is weekdays it's never used, certain weekends, that sort of thing. Is it used enough to maintain in the future? We're not looking at only scouts. We're looking at all youth organizations. We're not looking to keep this as a scout. Scouting, as scouters, we tend to be a little, everything has to be scouts. It's not what we're doing with this camp. We are looking at making this for all youth. Jackson County, surrounding counties. Every group, every church group, every faith, every denomination would be able to come there. Be able to hold their groups there, be able to camp there, be able to make those friendships that Joey talked about earlier. This land was given to scouting, but it was given to the youth of Jackson County. If I'm giving land over for a certain purpose, that's what I want it to be used for. I've already heard from others that there may be arguments over the land if it is given to county. The other problem I have, I've been to county parks. I appreciate county parks. Most of our county parks need updating. I don't think anyone can argue that. You know, you walk through the restrooms, you walk through the bathhouse, that sort of thing, they're in need of an update. There's a lot of money involved with that update, which is probably why they haven't been done. The amount of money it would take to get Tatonka into what you want it to be is a fortune. That could update all the other camps you have, all the other parks you have, easily. I also have heard talk about a boat launch. I'm confused about that because we've been told through scouting we cannot even put in a swimming dock because of a protected, I believe, painted turtle? Spotted turtle, I apologize. A protected turtle there. I'm confused how it is that we can't put a dock in, but yet bulldozers and cement with a boat launch is okay. I don't know if anybody's brought that up to you guys or not, something to consider. So this is a camp that, once it's gone, can never be brought back. We've got a number of county parks that we can bring up to beautiful land right now that we could use without losing something. I believe that's the best way this county should go.
Good evening. My name is Charles Trombley. I live at 740 Woodlawn Ave in Jackson, Michigan, and I am here to express my concern regarding the county's approach to buying Camp Tatonka. I am an Eagle Scout. I was born and raised in the city of Jackson. I served 7 years active duty in the Navy Submarine Force, and when I was honorably discharged, my wife and I had the opportunity to move anywhere. We considered many different locations. Seattle, where I was stationed, Virginia Beach, Connecticut. We've gotten to see how other people do their parks. They're not what we have here. We ended up choosing Jackson in large part due to the wide array and quantity of parks that Jackson County has to offer. My family and I chose to live near the Cascades, and we use it frequently. We are supporters of the parks here. I am concerned with the manner in which you have gone about this property. I have looked over all minutes and agendas for the past 12 months for not only the county commissioner meetings, but also the study sessions and the Parks and Rec Committee meetings as well. And what I have been unable to find is any vote by any of these committees or you regarding whether or not to pursue Camp Tatonka as a county park, or that any elected officials have received any presentation regarding this final proposal before it was submitted for consideration. In fact, the only signatures on the official proposal were the county parks director and the county administrator, both appointed positions. You, the county commissioners, are the final decision-making authority, and from what I have not seen, you have not had this opportunity. In looking over the core values for Jackson County, a couple stuck out to me. One being integrity. It says on the website, we must be open and honest with ourselves, each other, and our citizens. People with integrity do the right thing when no one is looking. I know that many meetings use the closed session under MCL 15.268 to discuss a legal opinion. I know that this allows, but it does not require a closed session, and I understand Section D can be used to consider the purchase or lease of real property up to the time an option to purchase or lease that real property is obtained. I don't know if that's what happened. Perhaps that is what one of those closed sessions was. However, I have a hard time seeing how that is aligned with the integrity portion of Jackson County's core values, as do many of the residents that I've spoken with. Never having a public session to allow the public to understand the county's plan for this property is unjust to the citizens that elected you to represent them. Teamwork is also included in there. On the website it says, the interconnected society we live in requires us to work together to solve community problems. What problem are you solving by adding an 18th park, hiring 14 more workers as this proposal states, and going against the overwhelming voice of the residents on Big Wolf Lake and surrounding areas? Also adding in somewhat to the tax burden by using grants to purchase the property and then plan to use the county general fund to sustain operations, as the proposal also states. The proposal also states that the plan is to make Jackson an attractive place to 18 to 35-year-olds. Once again, what don't the other 17 parks have that 18 to 35-year-olds will suddenly be attracted to with this 18th park? Lastly is accountability. The county will be held responsible to the public, for resources entrusted in your care, our care. We have over 600 signatures on petitions that do not want Camp Tatonka as a county park, and I'll be submitting that to you guys shortly. We're just getting it all collected now. I understand the 2015 and 2019 master plan / vision states to take advantage of opportunities. However, I believe the democratic process must still be followed. You represent residents. How many know and understand what is happening with Camp Tatonka and are in support of the county's plan? On the other hand, how many residents are opposed and have voiced to you via email, phone calls, and letters? As a member of Friends of Camp Tatonka, I would like to invite all of you to attend our meetings on the first and third Wednesdays. They are usually in the United Way.
30 seconds, sir.
United Way building at 7. But because of our large turnouts we have been having, we are looking to switch location to the Consumers Energy Innovation Center. I would like you guys to see what we know, hear what is important to us, see how we have included the public in our decision-making. Also, please attend the Michigan Crossroads Council meeting at Camp Tatonka. They're coming to talk to the residents. You will see the outpouring of local support and most likely gain a much better understanding of what is happening.
Your time is complete, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jonathan Hutchins. Picture this. You wake up to a crisp, cool breeze blowing through your tent. That is strategically placed on a high ground in case of the occasional summer shower. You hear the faint sound of other boys at a neighboring camp. The smell of pancakes and sausage waft by on the breeze. You join the rest of your troop in cooking breakfast while the leaders instruct you on proper techniques that you will use when you're an adult. How about picture the first time you held the stick and string they call a bow in your hand. You grab for the arrow not knowing exactly where it goes. The instructor comes by and helps you nock the arrow and shows you how to use the fingertips to hold the string. You muster all your strength to pull it back, and with a quick aim you let the arrow fly, hoping for a good shot. After what seems like an eternity of flight, the arrow smacks the target. You don't care that it's not dead center. You're jumping for joy that it hit the target because that is something you don't get to do but at camp. How about imagine a bright glow as you walk through the darkness of the trees. You walk into a huge arena lit by a roaring fire with rows of seats filled with boys, much like yourself, laughing and enjoying other troops acting out skits that generations before have come up with to keep each other entertained. I stand before you, a third-generation Boy Scout, 2 of which were Eagle Scouts. I am one. A Campman hockey counselor, and a Jackson County native and voter. I have been to Tatanka on many occasions, as my father and grandfather in the 50s and my great-grandfather was his scoutmaster. The camp we are here is not just grass and trees, but a legacy of scouting heritage that has been going on for 103 years. I am here to represent the next 103 years of Boy Scouts that deserve a chance to experience the same camp those before me have been able to enjoy. This camp has been such an instrumental part of Scouts' lives that they have had their ashes spread amongst the camp to show their loyalty. Unfortunately, the dead have more respect for this land than the living among us. I feel so betrayed by the executive board and the council members for letting this piece of Boy Scout heaven become underutilized. This camp should be thriving with active boys, learning new skills and earning merit badges. I have to admit, after getting my Eagle Scout and working my summer at Campman Hockey, I haven't been as active in scouting as I should be. This whole situation has brought to light that those who are leading the council do not have their heart and soul in it like they should. Due to this, I will do whatever it takes to turn this all around and get scouting back on the right track. Because one child's smile is worth all the blood, sweat, and tears from setting up and running camp. The Hutchins 5th generation will never experience this camp as the generations before have if the county takes this land. I am here to fight for the future. In reading Jackson County's proposal, I noticed that they wanted the mineral rights. Of course, who wouldn't want 240 acres of oil-rich land with a monthly revenue of roughly $2,500? I also noticed that the Boy Scouts have limited use areas and would still have to pay like the public. The Friends of Camp Tatanka's proposal will keep this land in its intended use for the development of the youth to learn skills they wouldn't learn elsewhere. In today's technologically advanced world, kids need more time in the woods and less in front of the computers. In conclusion, I believe this land should be given to the Friends of Camp Tatanka on the basis that the land would be used to further develop the youth of the generations to come instead of exploiting the land for governmental profit. Thank you.
I'm Jonathan Hutchins' dad. I'm Doug Hutchins. I'm a Jackson County resident. Do what's right. Do not let the Boy Scouts do the unethical thing. This is my dad in the 50s at Camp Tatanka, 17 years old. My grandson will never see this if you guys take that camp over. So don't let them do the unethical thing. And if you want my vote, Phil Duckham, I'm looking at you. If you want my vote, this camp needs to stay with the Boy Scouts. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Public comment is now closed. We've arrived at item 7, special meetings of standing committees, affairs and agencies, solid waste plan chaired by Commissioner David Elwell. Commissioner Elwell,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
hold it right here.
Yeah, we'll stay in our seats, I think, is the best way to do it. I was contacted by the administrator asking to add this to the agenda. It was put on there, I think, 24 hours in advance anyway. And there's a couple of lengthy documents with it that I'm hopeful the commissioners got through. And we have a couple commissioners that serve on the BPW board here, I think. There's one particular version, the red line version, obviously shows you what the suggested changes were. So we can talk about the plan now, and as I understand it and read through it, I think our options are to forward the plan to the full board tonight, either with a recommendation or without one, or to not forward it. So I think we should just simply open the floor up for discussion for the agencies and affairs commissioners. And I'd also like input. I think, Commissioner Duckham, do you not serve on the BPW board? And Mike, you're, I think, there also. If you want to give input, that would be fine.
You are correct.
And Mr. Chair, are you on the board too, I think?
Correct.
So feel free to chime in with your thoughts on it. And it is a lengthy document.
Dave, one of the things that concerned me is that it is lengthy. You were talking about 400 pages or so. And right now, all I've been able to do is scan through it and read the summary. So, personally, I'd like a little more time to look this over if we have it.
Yeah, I think there was 134 pages on the main document, on the red line version, which is the longer of the two. And Mike, you can, if you have reasons you want to discuss on why we're here with it now, or Chair Shotwell.
I would. The reason why we're here now is the document has been discussed for 2.5 years in public meetings, 2 years in public meetings, attended by the public and represented scantily, but represented. We also had people from the solid waste industry, people from the private sector and the public sector, commissioners, government officials, agents that represent the Board of Supervisors, agents that represent the city and Brooklyn, other areas that are concerned with it. The reason for we're asking to move forward is because we have to, after we pass the resolution that is in the document, begins another public process. The document goes out then to all townships and municipalities, and they get a chance to review, read, and ask questions and return questions to Grant. Grant tonight will step up and answer specific questions if you'd like him to now, but he also agreed to do it under the general meeting part of it. So what we're asking you to do is agree to begin the public process again. And this public process is where the local municipalities begin review of the document. Our thought is that we're able to move through this between now and December, with it coming to a study session of the full board, and we need to get to that. We need this step is what we need. So it will be back 2 or 3 times, and the Board of Commissioners will again have a final vote on it to approve it. This is not to approve any document. This is to begin the communication process with local municipalities.
Mr. Chair, I think the appropriate thing to do for right now is the options are for us to ask questions here in this technically committee meeting, or to let the full board weigh in, and I think the appropriate thing is to send it to the full board tonight. Then we can have the same discussion, and realistically, the board could take the same action as we
Correct.
could. So my preference would be that we have a motion to send it to the full board.
Mr. Agencies and Affairs Chair, I'd like to make the motion to send this to the full board.
No, you're not. I have a support from John. Any other questions from committee members? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. That concludes the special meeting of the Standing Committee of Agencies and Affairs that received a recommendation from the Board of Public Works on Monday to forward this to the full board. This time I entertain a motion for the minutes, approval of the minutes of the June 21st, 2016 meeting.
So moved.
We have a motion and support. Any questions or comments, corrections or deletions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same sign. Minutes have carried. We've arrived at the consent agenda.
Support.
We have a motion and support for the consent agenda. Any items for removal from the consent agenda? For further discussion? Seeing nor hearing none, Madam Clerk, could you post the vote?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Bill's a yes, his computer's locked up. 7-0? The consent agenda passed 7-0. We've now arrived at the opportunity for standing committees. Item 13, Affairs and Agencies, chaired by Commissioner David Elwell. Commissioner Elwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have appointments again tonight. We have two committees. The Department on Aging Advisory Council has 3 current open seats. At committee, we received no applicants, so therefore we brought no names forth. I don't know if there's any nominations from the floor. I believe not. So we'll move on to the traffic safety program. There's 2 positions open. There were 2 applicants, being Craig Pappen and Kelly Underwood, and Craig Pappen is the city council rep.
Are you moving both forward at this time?
Let's do one at a time, I think would be more appropriate.
We have a nomination for Craig Pappen. Any nominations from the floor for the city council representative? Seeing nor hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. Duly carried. 7-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next is the Health Department representative, and Kelly Underwood is the applicant and the recommendation from committee.
Any nominations from the floor for the Health Department designated seat? Seeing nor hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, duly carried.
That's all I have to report, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Standing Committee Human Services, chaired by Commissioner Julia Alexander. Commissioner Alexander.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Human Services has no committee business to bring before the board.
Thank you. Standing Committee Personnel and Finance, chaired by Vice Chairman Phil Duckham. Commissioner Duckham.
Mr. Chair, Personnel Finance does not have any business to conduct tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. We now arrived at item 16, unfinished business. Any commissioners have unfinished business that they would like to bring up? Seeing nor hearing none, we've now arrived at item 17. We've returned to the solid waste plan, and Grant, could you join us at the podium? Grant's here to answer questions of commissioners. If any of you have questions on where we're at and the rewrites, please feel free. Commissioner Elwell.
Grant, just 2 questions. One of them just a point, really. I think it was 1998 when it was last amended.
Correct.
So 18 years ago. And then the next thing is the sequence the chair has laid out fairly clearly. So it goes out to the municipalities throughout the county. And is it correct that we have to have 67.5% approval?
67%
67%.
approval, and then it would be forwarded on to DEQ for final approval by the director of that state department.
And if those other municipalities in total of 67% didn't reach that point, what would happen from there?
Then we'd have to
Go back to work again?
go back to work, and I'm not sure exactly where in the process we'd have to start over again, but we would obviously have to do that.
And then lastly, do those municipalities have a requirement for public hearings as well as part of that process?
No, they don't, and the those communities will just have an opportunity to either approve or disapprove the plan. They had their opportunity to make public comment during that
process.
90-day public comment period that we had. It was sent out to every municipal clerk in the county, so they had an opportunity. And we've also done a presentation before the County Township Supervisors Association. So the majority of the municipalities are aware of what we've done and why.
Well, just one last general question, then, if you can answer it. Has there been any amount of opposition to it, to the plan?
No, there hasn't. We've received a few comments, the most coming from the state, but most of those were just housekeeping items, not really anything substantive in nature.
I'm all set, thank you.
Commissioners? Commissioner Rice?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To speak to that, Commissioner Elwell, the fact that my fellow commissioners have appointed me to the Supervisors Association as a liaison for the county, actually, Grant has been there more than once throughout this process for, well, probably close to 2 years, as well as Supervisor Weimer and others. So I would say certainly the supervisors have been well versed on this. There is a lot to read, I agree, but throughout the process, they did ask questions, and I mean, I can't speak for what they're thinking, but just what Grant just said, I would concur. They felt good about the presentation and the fact that this was actually finally getting done. So that's just my comment.
And I just wanted to make it clear that the red line version you saw is mostly dealing with bringing the document up to snuff as far as the DEQ is concerned. They aren't all of the changes that were made throughout the process, because that would have redlined, 90-some% of the entire document.
Mr. Chair, I'd recommend that we approve the
One moment,
proposal
please.
as presented. Oh, I'm sorry.
Dave, and then we'll go to that. The BPW Director would like to speak.
Thank you. I just want to make one comment. Grant, you had indicated that it has to go to all the townships and cities and municipalities in this county.
Correct.
And that it will come up as new business on each of their agendas. They will have opportunity to discuss it amongst themselves and ultimately have to vote it up or down.
Correct.
So just want to make sure everyone's clear that it's not a done in secret. It is a public meeting where, again, opportunities.
We'll have to have signed resolutions, just like the resolution that we're going to have from you tonight for 2/3 of those communities.
Can you give just a simple overview? I mean, the plan covers literally all possible scenarios, from very passive recycling to an aggressive recycling plan, if we choose to do that. It is removed, incineration has a part of the plan, it's specifically removed, so we won't have to deal with that going forward. I think that the plan covers a wide swath of what we have to do with municipal solid waste going forward. And we have relationships with surrounding communities that are included in the plan to honor, and reciprocating agreements with other counties. So yeah, so it does cover a great deal of territory when it comes to municipal solid waste.
I think to try and answer that question, simply what we ended up doing is codifying within the plan what's actually happening right now as we speak, after the incinerator was closed and the flow control ordinance was suspended. And it's so it's not really going to change necessarily from the viewpoint of any county resident. There may not be, they might not see any change in the way things are done.
I would renew my motion.
We have the motion for the municipal, for the solid waste plan resolution. We have support. Madam Clerk, could you post the vote? resolution passes 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Grant. We've now arrived at the second opportunity for public comment. The same rules apply as at the beginning, but you have 3 minutes at this time to address the Board of Commissioners.
Peter Bormuth. I'd like to say that I attended, I think, every meeting of the Solid Waste Planning Committee except for one, and that was the last public comment. I just sent mine in by email to Grant. It was a long process. At times, it was heated. Obviously, compromises were made. I fought hard for what I wanted in the plan, and I got some of that, and I did not get some of that. I'd like to compliment everybody who worked on it. Phil, Mike, Chairman Shotwell, all the other participants from industry and from the environmental field. Everybody came, everybody worked hard, everybody smoothed over differences ultimately to come to a plan that I think will work for Jackson County. I still have issues with the importation of 100 tons of coal fly ash every day into the Liberty landfill, but beyond that, I think the plan is a good plan that will work for this county. So thank you for sending it on to the townships, villages, and municipalities, and we'll see what the township boards and township supervisors think of the plan. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Second round of public comment is now closed. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Duckham.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Grant Bowman for leading the, and facilitating the solid waste plan. It was long, and as a member of Region 2, Director of Region 2, Grant also was and is still doing the same thing in Lenawee County, so I'm sure he's sick of it, but you did a nice job. You made it make sense, and we appreciate it. Thank you, Grant.
Any other commissioner comments? Commissioner Plotchuk.
Yeah, I would just like to keep the Geyer family in our thoughts and prayers. Bailey Geyer was the young 17-year-old girl that was killed, and she was a delightful young lady, and the family is doing well, but taking it extremely hard. It was their only child, so if you could think about her every once in a while. The funeral was today, so thank you.
Any other commissioner comments? Seeing or hearing none, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session in accordance with MCL 15.268 to discuss a legal opinion. Moved by Commissioner Duckham. Supported by Mr. Waltz. I'm sorry. Any questions or comments to the closed session motion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Walls? Yes. Commissioner Rice? Yes. Commissioner Duckham?
Yes.
Commissioner Alexander? Yes. Commissioner Plotchik? Yes. Commissioner Elwell? Yes. Chairman Shotwell?
Yes.
Right, they've never talked about or debated or discussed or voted on that Camp Tonka thing ever once. I don't know how much, I said, I don't know how long. Brad. Told him to. You told him. Didn't. If you want me to continue discussing it right here, it's because you offered to take land and two people signed a document that don't have the legal authority to take land and offered to take it. No, they offered. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought it was an offer, a proposal to take the land. No. Okay. Sorry, I misunderstood that.
Mr. Chair, point of order, did we not need to take a roll call to come back in? Okay.
The chair made the motion, Dave. Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Let the vote show it passed 5-2. Motion to approve an appeal of the Ingham County Circuit Court order dated July 8, 2016 in the county's suit against Macrissa, as recommended by the county's attorney. We have a motion and support. Any comments? All in favor? Aye. Let the record, any opposed? Hearing none, let the record show that passed 7-0. Any further items to come before the Board of Commissioners this evening? Seeing nor hearing none, entertain a motion for adjournment. Support. We have a motion and support. All in favor? Those opposed? Duly carried.